Welcome to the People's Choice Award podcast, brought to you in partnership with Tier 1 People and Fintech Australia. The Finnies, Australia's largest and most prestigious fintech awards, are fast approaching, and we want you to be part of it. Sponsored by the Victorian Government and major partners Vocus and SwiftX, the Finnies are a chance to celebrate the amazing people, incredible innovations, and remarkable resilience that the fintech industry is known for and built upon. Fintech Organisation of the Year Award is sponsored by Vocus. Thank you, Vocus, for your support in making the Finnies a reality. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 9th of June in Melbourne, and don't forget to make your vote in the People's Choice Awards. I'm joined by David Link, and he's CEO and founder of Verrency, and they're in for Fintech Organisation of the Year Award. David, welcome to the show.
Dexter, thanks very much for having me.
It's a real pleasure to have you on the show. We've not had Verrency on before. So I guess for myself and the listeners, could you tell us a little bit more about Verrency and what you do?
Absolutely. So Verrency is an Australian headquartered global fintech. We are over 5 years old now, and we are an enabler. We're plumbers. We're a white label SaaS company, and our clients are banks, processors, and payment networks, all on the issuing side. So those that actually issue payments credentials to people who pay. And as I said, we're plumbing, but we do one thing, and we actually help banks and processors to accelerate innovation, particularly around the moment of payment.
Brilliant. So there's a lot of competition in the space. What would you say differentiates Verrency from the others?
Yeah, well, there's starting to be, if you look at what we do, we enable innovation around that moment of payment. And we're particularly focused on enabling third-party value-add services to be rapidly delivered in a standardized manner by a bank or processor, where you actually have the largest audience. And so when we started, we actually set out to solve this problem, which didn't really have any competition at the time. It was the competition is actually a bank deciding to do this themselves.
I couldn't think of any harder competition to get around there, David.
Absolutely. In a way, so we have to have rocks in our head to have started this. But I've spent my background was 30 years at Accenture. In running bank mergers and in implementing major transformations, and we'd seen this problem. I'd seen this problem in the industry, and specifically made a bet that there was going to be a battle for customer relationship around the moment of payment, and that was really the people that are sticky there. It's really not about the form factor per se; that's part of it, but it's mostly about the fact that there are services that people deem valuable around that interaction, and then you go, well, what's stopping a bank or banks from actually implementing anything around this area, from driving greater engagement? And it comes back to the fact that 100% of banks and processors are sitting on kind of issuing legacy technology that is 20 to 40 years old. And migrating away from it is not a possibility because of the expense and the time of that. It's typically hundreds of millions of dollars. And so we set out to design an API platform that specifically, first and foremost, was designed, for the infrastructure of the largest players in the world as well as the smallest, and could take out a lot of the risk that a bank or processor would see in doing exactly this. So that's probably the differentiation. Is we set out to design a platform that was focused first and foremost on being something trusted, very secure, highly scalable, low latency, that a bank looked at that aspect of it first, second, and third, and then said, this is enabling me to design fully personalized credit card, or this is enabling me to enable my customers to save in the same way that Acorns does, or to donate to charity. So we looked at it first and foremost from solving that industry problem, which is how can I save time, money, and effort for a bank and be trusted? So easy to buy, easy to implement, which meant we had to get the kind of the iceberg below the surface right first, not necessarily the part that you saw.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So not the functionality. It was we focused on that second.
So I guess that kind of forewarning that you had around the point of payment, we've obviously seen the buy now, pay later space just absolutely explode in the last kind of 12, 18 months. Would that be an example of where kind of banks now are seeing kind of imminent threats to their kind of old models and now see Verrency as being a part of the solution?
Yeah, so we actually are one of the things that we do enable banks to do is to have different funding sources attached via their existing debit and credit payment methods, including the ability to connect up buy now, pay later. I think it's really all about banks, realizing that they've got to drive greater engagement, or they're going to get their lunch eaten.
Yeah,
and that's really come to a head, particularly post-COVID, because everybody and their grandmother's using Zoom and paying digitally, and that kind of bar whereby banks need to be digitally enabled has all been raised. And so then you go, well, actually, how do I differentiate? How do I actually drive greater engagement? Because banking products are all commoditized; they are regulated, and so you go, what makes the difference between one bank and another bank, or even a fintech that's now offering banking services, or a neobank? And it actually comes down to services of the type that we enable. So one of our clients, a large banking group in the Middle East, launched the world's first completely personalized credit card. And it enables customers to change everything about their product and their benefits all the time, from the loyalty points they earn to what they burn to the rewards they have. And that's their method of differentiation. And they've been able to grow massively because of it. But it's that now focus on, how do I differentiate? How do I drive greater customer engagement? And every bank is looking to do that now. And in part, buy now, pay later, absolutely the success of Afterpay and Zip and the others, Klarna and the others in the market, are helping to really, drive that awareness, because consumers are now themselves in this one space, obviously voting with their feet.
Yeah. No, it's a really cool kind of story, the Verrency one. Do you want to share with our listeners a little bit about the 5-year journey that you've been on?
Certainly. Well, we started in the kind of platform we've developed. Was one where it's not two guys in a garage, because obviously then, as a processor or network, nobody in their right mind would buy it. So it took us probably 2 years of development of the platform before we could actually start to commercialize. We've had, a fantastic team over the years here in Melbourne. Our tech team is based here in Melbourne. And so we had about 2.5 years of tech build to the point where the platform is fully automated and ready to deploy on a global basis. And then we've got commercial teams, small in geographies around the world. So in Silicon Valley, in the Middle East, in Dubai, in Singapore, in the UK. And have been, out initially getting clients that, wanted to innovate first, and now more and more across the board. So we're pleased to be working with clients such as Volt Bank here in Australia, FPOS, the national debit network here, Emirates NBD in the Middle East, and FIS, one of the largest processors in the world in the United States.
Wow. And
so we have a couple more that we will be announcing fairly soon, but a lot of our clients are very large processors or card networks, and we're a very easy way to enable them to innovate a lot faster, and particularly to connect third-party fintechs. So that's one of the things we can talk about a little later. We're really proud of the fact that we're connecting up fintechs to banks. We make that a lot easier.
So over that 5-year journey, I mean, what for you have kind of been, some of the, I guess, the kind of pivotal moments for you, David, when you look back?
Well, I think obviously when you have your first, your first client, that is really key. But particularly for us over the course of the last year, while it's been difficult for everybody with COVID, and we certainly had new business, because banks were very much focused on lending and solving the problems of their customers. Our business grew, continued to grow. I think we've grown about 80% year on year for the last 4 years, and we were really fortunate to receive recognition from Deloitte this past month as the number one fastest growing Australian firm out of their Fast 500.
Oh, fantastic!
In Asia Pacific, yes, over the last 3 years, and so we're very pleased with that. I mean, that's the honor. I mean, Afterpay had that honor 2 years ago. And so I think, especially this past year, we're live actually with dozens of banks, and in the United States in particular, we here in Australia, we've connected up multiple fintechs to the FPOS network, really helping FPOS to further its mission of driving more value for Australians. So that's fintechs such as Loyalty Now and Cash Rewards, and we're working with plenty of others such as IncentivPay and others soon to be announced to really help them take advantage of the FPOS network. But it's this past year, particularly in having so many banks and services go live and driving value. That's been because the reason we're doing this is actually making innovation happen faster in a space where typically it doesn't happen fast, if at all. And that's why I got started in this. That's why the problem we're trying to solve. And this past year, we've just had so many clients really go live.
If we look at the kind of the where the business is at now, how many people are with Verrency?
Yeah, we've got a little less than 20.
Wow.
So we keep a very tight team because we spent a lot of time on our platform, and it's heavily automated. We designed that way. We've got a fantastic tech team, but designed with a level of automation, working with obviously with Amazon, with AWS, that enables us to scale locally with almost zero resources. Whether that be in Europe, we're about to announce a major deal, or in the US, South America. And so we've got a fantastic tech team, and then we've got senior sales resources in Silicon Valley and areas around the world. So we're really fortunate to have a fantastic team.
Brilliant. And so in terms of kind of international expansion and further growth, what plans do you have coming up?
Well, we started global. So once the platform had actually reached kind of a critical mass, from over 3 years ago, our U.S. team came on board, as well as Middle East, in the U.K. So we actually are active and have clients in almost every geography around the world. So coming up for us, we'll be announcing a major client in Europe, as well as another major client, a card network based in Asia Pacific and the Middle East. So we're continuing on, particularly with some of the larger clients, with the processors and card networks. And just right now we're very much in that scaling stage of just continuing to expand.
How does it make you feel when you kind of think back to those days where you're actually in build mode without customers and kind of thinking, did you ever think this day would come?
Well, I wish it'd come a lot sooner. As any CEO,
I'm sure you've had some hairy moments along the way the last 5 years.
Oh, every moment's hairy, because I think when you're in a startup, in particular, it's all about momentum. And the growth that you've got balanced against the capital that you have, and the challenge, the big difference between a B2C startup, which is a J curve, which is typically technology light, and the kind of platform we are. I mean, we have a very heavy capital cost up front, and we have a very heavy base capital cost. Because of what we are. We're a payments processor. And even though we don't, we aren't we're not processing commodity payments, but that's the level of infrastructure we have that we replicate for every client. And so when you're, I'll call it Fintech 2.0, which is really about the plumbing and the market infrastructure, that base capital cost is very high. And so, I struggle all the time with, being able to drive, the revenue and clients faster against that capital cost. And it's harder because in a J curve B2C, you see it immediately. In ours, our buying cycle, our clients are banks and processors. And so we go through due diligence.
You got to romance them for 12, 18 months, right? Before you see a cent.
It isn't quite 18 months, but it is very much anywhere from 4 to 12 months.
Yeah.
and that aspect of the buying cycle. And then it's 5, 6, 7 months as things are implemented. And then only then you start to see, some, other volumes come on. That's the challenge.
How have you kept the investors at bay then when, you've had to kind of explain that, look, stop. Yeah, because the natural thing to happen, right, is they look and go, payments. Oh, well, Afterpay is payments. Why are you not doing what Afterpay are doing? Very different business model, as you've mentioned.
Yeah, and we've been really fortunate to have, an excellent set of investors, and we've got a large set of investors. We do have a couple of funds in this, but also we're really looking to move probably institutional in our next round coming up. But it's been, we were fortunate to be able to recognize we're solving a problem for the long term, and it's very, very patient. Which means there's up and downs. Because the trade-off on ours is as we get past a certain point, we're very much an annuity business, and that it's about, can we get there faster or sooner, but we're absolutely on the right path, and we're just really fortunate to have investors that understand that it is a long journey.
Brilliant. Now, Verrency's been part of the fintech ecosystem for quite a few years now, and you've been kind of fairly active in the community as well. How does it make you feel when you kind of look back and see where the industry is now here in Australia?
Yeah, well, fantastic. I mean, I think we're very lucky to be represented by a good industry body with Fintech Australia. If you look at some of the national bodies, particularly in payments, such as FPOS, they're absolutely dedicated and focused towards driving greater Fintech participation. But I think we've got a thriving ecosystem. We're really fortunate because we are active around the world, and we enable about 1 in 8, 1 in 9 fintechs to connect to banks and processors. So we've got quite a view. We've got a big partnerships arm with about 43 fintech partners around the world. So we see we're very active in Silicon Valley and Europe and so on. And I think Australia's got a very vibrant ecosystem. It's certainly strong in a number of areas. Buy now, pay later being obviously one of them. And we've got a huge amount of talent here. So it's absolutely great to see. I think where Australia probably could be even better is if you look at its access to capital. It's certainly not the same as Silicon Valley or in parts of Europe as well. But we're lucky here, I think, as I look at the ecosystem that we've got, and a lot of good people. Yeah,
I agree, David. We haven't got a talent challenge. I think what we do have is maybe there's not enough relevance or context to, scaling fintech as you would in, say, the US or the UK. And I think the more that we get people who've gone on that journey with Afterpay, I think, we're going to start to see that actually, the talent's always been there. They just have the context of what it's like to scale an organization. I kind of totally agree with everything you've said there. Now, this is the People's Choice Award, David. And I guess this is where the public and the ecosystem gets to vote for who they'd like to see win the award. What would you say is the kind of thing that you're most proud of when you look back over this last 12 months?
Well, I'd say, Dexter, first off, we're honored enough just to be in this group. So the fact if, we'd be lucky enough to win, I think we're already happy enough to be in it. I think the thing we're most proud of is that we're connecting, over the last 12 months, we've connected multiple fintechs to banks and helped them go live. So in the United States, working with Impact, which is a charity aggregator, we've helped bring them live with dozens of banks where people are now donating to charity as a part of the course of their everyday spending. And here in Australia, through our wonderful relationship with FPOS, we've been able to connect a number of fintechs in the industry to FPOS, and we've got a number more that are in process right now. So probably more than anything else, it's been that we've actually been able to demonstrate concrete value to the ecosystem of which we're a part.
Brilliant. And what does the future hold for Verrency, David? Any exciting news you can share?
Yeah, we do have some exciting news. We've just announced a major deal with Visa.
Wow.
We are, very pleased not only to become a FinTech Connect partner for them globally, and obviously Visa ready, but to sign a major service delivery agreement with them, where we'll be announcing even kind of further services over the course of the coming months. But that's been a long time in the making. We're really pleased to be working with them, and that is in that's not in Australia. That's in the Middle East and in Asia Pacific. So we're really pleased about that. And then we also expect, we can't announce it yet, but expect to have some news with regards to a major European processor as well in the very near future. So we're really pleased to be able to announce some of the expansion that we've got.
Brilliant. Well, David, it's been fantastic to chat with you. Congrats to you and everybody at Verrency for, as you say, making it to the finals every year. Keep saying this, the competition gets tougher and tougher. And, so for you to be in such esteemed company, I can guarantee you with what you've achieved this last 12 months, a couple of years ago, you probably would have been dead set to win the award. Now, I can't pick anybody because I think it's just amazing how the industry's come along and how, it seems like all ships are rising with the tide. So fantastic effort this last year, David.
Thanks, Dexter. Now, we're absolutely honored and really appreciate your time today.
FinTech Organization of the Year Award is sponsored by Vocus. Thank you, Vocus, for your support in making the Finnies a reality. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 9th of June in Melbourne. And don't forget to make your vote in the People's Choice Awards.